Alright, I'm back. It's been a while. I'm recording again. Here to talk about, excuse me, Sister Souljah's life after death. I've been trying to figure out a way to talk about this thing. And it's been hard because, over 20 something years ago when I was younger, I read the first, book about, the coldest winter ever. And, it was a good book. I wouldn't say it was stellar, you know what I'm saying? But people was calling it, oh man, it's a instant urban classic, And I ain't gonna lie, I did not like the character, even though I was young, just like Winter. But yeah, it pulled you in. But I read this book and I was very much disappointed. And I tried to go around on the web. I looked at other people's reviews. I looked at video reviews and I also looked at written reviews from professional book reviewers, mainstream, independent. And they all had the exact same opinion as I did. This book is not a good book and it's not a worthy successor. So, I think, then I also heard that she was going to make a movie. And it almost happened, but it didn't happen because the company got bought out and stuff, so she had to buy it back. But I'm kind of glad it didn't happen because for this to be the follow-up was just nah. I mean, the first book, how can I say this? She didn't learn, she didn't improve, she didn't grow. Yes, she was a young girl. She was just 16, 17, and she was this pampered princess, but yet she was one of those type of, kids kind of like, Whitney Houston, who grew up, with money in the suburbs, going to private school, but then went around lying saying that she was from the ghetto. She went to the ghetto and started hanging with ghetto people, and so her dad let her and didn't give her tools to learn how to live right. So her whole family went down and that was her struggles. That's cool. You can accept that from a teenager. But in this book, this is 15 years later. So she's about 32 and she still doesn't learn anything, So I really couldn't, you can accept that from a teenager, but from a grown ass woman, that just doesn't work. And and I got Life After Death. I knew turns out I misinterpreted it. At first I thought, okay, well, she went to jail, she's about to get out of jail, and this is her life. She was dead in jail, and then when she gets out, she's going to be better and probably going to look at her life and how she either reformed in jail or gets reformed outside. Whatever, that's what I thought. But then it turns out, no, she's in the underworld. She's in, the afterlife, which is a good premise. When I realized, no one ever really thought about that during something, modern day. Like Dante did, Inferno. But, to see and probably other people have done it, I probably just don't. But as far as like, urban lit, or American literature, so I thought it was going to be an interesting premise. I was like, okay, right? But, so she's in this purgatory and she doesn't learn. And for some reason, first of all, before she dies, instead of her going through travails, all of a sudden she's rewarded with a reality TV show, which is stupid. Why would she get a reality TV show? Her dad was not a big time pusher. She was just a kid of the guy. I know are some reality shows out there like that now, but they're not big. And I don't think they lasted a season or two or made it through the whole season. So, Sister Souljah didn't know what she was talking about. So to put her in that was ridiculous. And the way she died, instead of her like coming out and living her life, right there on the steps of the jail, she gets shot. Boom. It was ridiculous. And then going through, like I said, all of a sudden, she has this relationship with the devil's son and the devil, and he picks her out of all the women, the devil's son and her. And it's just like, that's ridiculous. Ain't no female, I don't care how fine you are, is you gonna get all the alpha males. That just does not happen. And stripped out, they all treat her like shit. None of them are loyal to her. They always have other women, and of course they're the devil. So it's just ridiculous. And she goes through all these travails. She doesn't learn. Like one thing is in the book, if you have anal sex, you turn into an animal. This woman just keeps on having anal sex and keeps on turning into an animal. Then it gets so disgusting. Like when she's with the devil's son, when she's a dog, he actually has sex with her. It's bestiality. So that's disgusting. And she has these two characters that keep running into each other. I'm like, all the millions of people, you keep running into these two idiots that do not help the story at all. They're not entertaining. Why are they there? And then same thing with, like, apparently she had an abortion and she was going to have fraternal twins, a boy and a girl. They try to help her out, but she, disses them. So they just go, screw you too. And it's just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? She gets help again and again and again, and she just doesn't learn. So this was a bad book. It just, no. The whole premise and the potential of it could have been really good. And then at the end, it turns out, oh, she was just in a coma. What the fuck? What type of bullshit TV ending is that? So she went through all that. And then the so-called reality show, they switch over because she's in a coma, and they record her sister's vigil sitting while she's in a coma, then records her rehabilitation and all the rest of this crap. And it's just like, how's this character going to learn? She keeps on fucking up, but then she keeps on getting rewarded. That's not realistic. No one's going to fuck up this much and keep on getting rewarded. So, yeah, it was just, this is not, and then just reading it was just, it became a slog. So, and I mean, like, I tried to read the other books, like the Midnight series, because that's an interesting character. And I tried to read those, and I started those and gave up after 15, 20 pages. Then there was the Portia Santiago story, her younger sister. Tried to start that, but it gave up too. So kind of reevaluating her now. And she's not such a good writer. And then also with the original Coldest Winter Ever, she said, because she was actually a social worker. That's what she started out. That's what she got her degree in. That's what she started doing. And that's where she comes from. But everyone thinks that she was like a rapper. No, she was a social worker, and she was just using music and the media to get the problems of people out there. And she said she started to use art to try to get to the people, to try to get them, people that are having problems, to get change from. And then she also wanted to, like, okay, we've talked about people in trouble and stuff, but we didn't even talk about males, so we need to talk about the females, right? So she was trying, it's kind of like the same thing that Ice-T tried to do with his music. When he had 6 a.m, he was like, oh, you want to be a drug dealer? Okay, well, here's what happens. And he took him on a ride through a 6 o'clock in the morning raid where the police raided his house. You know what I'm saying? And he does that theme throughout all of his music. He's trying to say, hey, you want to be a gangster, you want to be a street person? Well, here's the problems of it, right? Do you still want to be a gangster? And I applaud that from Ice-T. And she was trying to do the exact same thing with literature. She's trying to say, hey, all the drug dealing and how can I say dysfunctional living, that's not going to work for you. It's just not going to work for you. And so I kind of like that part of Coldest Winter, even though I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of decent and stuff. And I thought it was like a morality tale, like saying, hey, don't live this life because this will happen. So when she went to jail and got her face cut, that was good. I'm like, okay, yeah, that'll get people from, young women from stop living like a dysfunctional life, and not be dating these drug dealers and not dealing drugs themselves and da-da-da. But this doesn't help that cause. She does not, it's basically saying, hey, you can be a screw up and still, treat people like crap and commit crimes and do all this unethical stuff and live a dysfunctional life and keep getting rewarded. You know what I'm saying? And that's not true. That's not the life. So I think she kind of failed on that part. She failed on two parts. Trying to get the people to tell them who's living a dysfunctional life, stop living that way. And she's not a good storyteller, And then another thing, the afterlife that they talk about in here is the Islamic afterlife, which doesn't really, you're not going to get too many people here in America because we're a Christian country, And honestly, I really felt that she was using this as propaganda to try to recruit people to Islam. And it's like, come on now. You know, that's just, no. That's just not the way. It's just not going to work. You know, I think she failed in that because it just became like, this was not the, she just failed. So, yeah, like I said, you know, she did an interview with the Breakfast Club. That didn't really help gain any new perspective. Like I said, I looked at other people's reviews. People did retrospectives of the other novels. I looked at that. In the original, Cold as Winter Ever, just didn't help me get a new perspective to try to save this book. I mean, it's not even original. Look at the cover. This is the exact same cover on Cold as Winter Ever, but instead of it being that kind of fuchsia thing, they just did it black. That's it. You know. Excuse me. You know. Excuse me. So this was really lazy too. So obviously no creativity went into it, and I don't know. Maybe she did this for a cash grab also. You know what I'm saying? And then her politics up in here is really conservative. She's really preachy instead of just showing the person like, okay, living a bad life, da da da. She gets kind of preachy. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, she has like a big anti-abortion thing when the unborn sons, you know, come out, because the way she's introduced to her unborn children is like through, well, she does meet the girl first, but then the girl tries to talk to her and she gives up because she just decides to keep going with the devil's son. But then when she and other women who had abortions meet the unborn sons together and they let them know what's the deal is, you know, hey, we're your unborn sons, blah, blah, blah. We still love you, da, da, da. She still doesn't listen, but it doesn't even really discuss the issue. So that's really, she's just kind of hitting them hard. So it's like, you're getting preachy, stop. We got it, you know, and I don't really think that it was necessary for her to say that she's against anal sex. I think that was a way to slip in some anti-gay feeling, you know, because you're having, I mean, even though the characters, it was men and women having anal sex, not men and men having anal sex. She's saying that it's wrong because all of a sudden, if you have anal sex, you turn to an animal, you know, and it's like, really, do you have to go that far to be preachy? So it's kind of really disappointing because, you know, now she's like this ultra right-wing fire and brimstone preacher and stuff. It just, and then also, you know, there are, you know, in here, I don't know how it is, but somehow she put down Christianity and Judaism, you know, because apparently in Islamic purgatory or hell, there was a side where they ended up in this nunnery with these women who just refused to pledge allegiance to Islam and stuff. And they're like off to themselves and all super preachy and stuff. And then also one of the idiot characters who follows around, she's a Jew, and there's a side where she said that when she went missing before she suddenly appeared again, she found a synagogue and she tried to go up in there, and the people up in there was like, no, you're not a Jew, get up out of here, you're not a Jew. And then she goes, well, you know, hey, let me in and I'll become a Jew, you can teach me. And they go, hell no. So she basically paints Christian and Jews as these ultra right-wing ignorant extremists, but it's like, well, you're the ultra right-wing ignorant extremist. You know what I'm saying? By showing them exclusionists, you're just projecting the way you are onto other people. So it was just, oh man. I mean, this book is dense with her failings, if you ask me, you know. Yeah, so overall, I mean, like, you can read it if you just want to find out what happened to it, but I can't recommend it. I mean, like, to me, I think it would have been a more interesting story if they would have showed, because they actually did have like one flashback to her in jail, but it was just so quick and just, I'm like, wait a minute, how you gonna, it's 15 years in jail, how you not gonna talk about that? That's gonna have some effect on what happens after she gets out of jail. You know what I'm saying? So that would be an interest. It's like, what happened? You know, but she just kind of paints it as like she was like gangster boss, gangster queen up in there. It's like, come on, please, man. You know, it's not realistic. You know, just like all of a sudden all of the top alpha dudes in Islamic hell was coming after her. For them to say that she was like the queen in jail, it's like, man, get up out of here. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, oh, well, she's getting a reality show after she gets out. Unrealistic. You know, that was one of the flaws. It didn't, you know, the character should have struggled. She should have shown what happened up in jail. She could have showed her learning about her faults and how she kind of messed up and blah, 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 becoming a better person, you know. Or she could have showed her coming out of jail, becoming a better person, and maybe struggling to adjust outside, just like she could have showed her struggling to adjust in jail. And then she could have turned around in the real world. Who knows? This book, and then even in, you know, purgatory hell, you know, they could have showed her struggling and learning and improving. But this book, there were so many different roads that could have been taken to make this a better story and to make this a better character. And it doesn't take those. You know, instead, like I said, I think she probably either just wanted to recruit for Islam, or maybe it's a cash grab. Maybe she's trying to promote so she can get her the failed movie back online. It was like, hey, you know, I got another book here. We can have a series and blah, blah, blah. But either way, this book was just horrible. And I mean, like, if you want to continue and find out what happened, go ahead, rent it out to the library. Do not see this book right here. Do not pay for it. Okay? Do not waste your money. Okay? Get out the library. Who knows? In the future, she may come back. Maybe she may realize, you know, with all this criticism, she may be like, oh, okay. And she may come back, because sometimes with sequels, you know, just like with movies, sometimes, you know, the sequels are horrible. And then like the third or fourth movie, they'll come back and make a good one. You know, that happens sometimes, you know. It happened with Die Hard. Happened with Rocky movies. Looks like it's going to happen with The Matrix, you know, because 2 and 3 were really one movie that they split apart and made it horrible, and blah, 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 blah. So who knows? She may make a comeback, but even if she does, she improves, I am not going to buy this. I am going to rent it out. If it comes back, I'll give her one more chance and rent it out the library, but I'm not going to buy it. Yeah, so I agree with all the people. This was a bad book. It had potential that was unrealized. You know, if she just drops the whole trying to recruit for Islam and, you know, takes all her conservative views and keeps it to herself and just tries to develop a character and try to be, you know, an artist that has a character and develop it and show it going through travails and actually struggling with those travails, she might be able to salvage this series, but she doesn't. It's gonna suck. So, all right. So that's it. Like I say, don't buy it. You can rent it if you want to, but it's way better. Not just fiction, but even urban fiction. That's way better than this. So, all right, later.